Nothing escalates frustration and disappointment quite like quitting just before success was within reach. Most people quit right before their breakthrough moment. They put in months or years of effort, face inevitable obstacles, and then walk away, often when they're closer to success than they realize. Today, I want to explore why this happens and how we can develop the resilience to push through these critical moments. The reason motivational content gets billions of views is simple. People love the feeling of being motivated. That rush of possibility, the excitement of potential change, it's addictive. But here's the uncomfortable truth most motivational speakers won't tell you. Motivation without systems fails 92% of the time. As Elon Musk pointed out, people love the feeling of being motivated. They don't like putting in the work to do something about the feeling. The gap between temporary motivation and lasting success isn't just psychological, it's biological. When Rocky Balboa said, "It ain't about how hard you're hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward," he was accidentally describing a neurological process scientists have only recently begun to understand. Research from Stanford University's Center for Compassion reveals that resilience isn't an inborn trait, but a skill developed through specific neural pathways. When we repeatedly push through challenges, we're literally rewiring our brains. The anterior cingulate cortex activates when we encounter obstacles. In most people, this triggers the amygdala's threat response, creating the urge to quit. But in highly resilient individuals, the prefrontal cortex overrides this response, allowing them to maintain focus despite discomfort. Here's where it gets interesting. This pathway strengthens with use. The more you push through difficulty, the easier pushing through becomes, creating what psychologists call learned persistence. Each time you continue despite wanting to quit, you're building neural pathways that make future persistence easier. This explains why the most successful people often describe their greatest asset not as talent, but as perseverance. But here's the critical insight about persistence. It requires failure. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. Isn't just motivational fluff, it's mathematical certainty. Achievement is mathematically impossible without failure. Elon Musk's story illustrates this perfectly. In 2008, both Tesla and SpaceX were on the verge of bankruptcy. Tesla closed its financing round at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, the last possible hour before complete collapse. SpaceX had just experienced its third consecutive rocket failure. Today, both companies are transforming their industries. But what's often missed in these stories is the deliberate approach to failure. Top performers don't just persevere through failure. They systematically extract data from each setback. They document exactly what happened, identify the specific point of breakdown, develop multiple potential adjustments, test new approaches with clear metrics, and repeat until breakthrough occurs. Thomas Edison's famous quote about finding 10,000 ways that don't work wasn't celebrating failure. It was celebrating the systematic learning process that failure enables. Each failure contained information that brought him closer to success. This reframing of failure as data rather than defeat is what allows highly successful people to persist when others quit. Our society's confirmation bias makes us focus on success stories while ignoring the failures that preceded them. We see the breakthrough moment, but not the countless setbacks that came before. This creates the false impression that success should come quickly or easily, which makes the inevitable struggles even more demoralizing when we face them ourselves. The work ethic reality is something many motivational speakers avoid discussing. Do you think Elon Musk has work-life balance? No. Do you think Steve Jobs had work-life balance? No. Bill Gates? Henry Ford? None of these people who created extraordinary wealth had work-life balance. Here's where conventional wisdom gets it wrong. We've been told there are shortcuts to success, growth hacks, and overnight transformations. The data tells a different story. Kevin Hart worked 19 years in comedy before his breakout success. Howard Schultz pitched the Starbucks concept to 242 investors, receiving 217 rejections. J.K. Rowling faced 12 publisher rejections before Harry Potter was accepted. The psychological research is clear. Expertise typically requires approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. There is simply no substitute for putting in the work. But here's the critical distinction between ineffective and effective hard work. Strategy matters. At the end of the day, only execution matters. What separates those who work hard but fail from those who work hard and create extraordinary results? Strategic execution. Most people approach goals with enthusiasm, but without systems. The emotional approach sets vague goals, works when motivated, quits when obstacles arise, takes failure personally, and seeks constant validation. In contrast, the strategic approach defines clear success metrics, creates unbreakable routines, anticipates challenges with contingency plans, analyzes failure as data, and measures progress against objective standards. The strategic approach creates what psychologists call an implementation intention, a predetermined plan for when, where, and how you'll take specific actions regardless of motivation or circumstances. This removes the need for willpower, which research consistently shows is a finite resource that depletes with use. Beyond strategy, there's an even deeper level that determines whether you'll quit before your breakthrough: identity. You don't hate yourself, you don't think you suck, you're not the imposter, you're not insecure. Somebody taught you that. The most powerful transformation happens not at the level of actions, but at the level of identity. Neuroscience shows that our brains make decisions that align with our self-concept first, then rationalize those decisions later. Research from Dr. Benjamin Hardy shows that people who focus on changing their identity, I am a healthy person, achieve 2 to 3x better results than those focusing only on behaviors, I need to exercise. This explains why willpower so often fails. It's trying to force actions that contradict your current identity. Working against your self-concept requires enormous energy. But when your identity shifts, the same actions become natural and effortless. The 3-step identity shift framework used by elite performers includes evidence collection, documenting small wins that support your desired identity, environment design, restructuring your surroundings to reinforce your new self-concept, and community immersion, spending time with people who embody your aspired identity. Small changes in language can also drive significant behavior changes. Studies show that people who say, I don't, instead of I can't, are twice as likely to maintain their commitment to a goal. I don't miss workouts creates a boundary rooted in identity, while I can't miss workouts feels like an external restriction pushing against your freedom. Consistency is another crucial factor in pushing through pre-breakthrough moments. I have only known success on the back of consistency. The discipline has been everything that I have ever gotten on the back of doing it again and again and again. The mathematics of consistent effort are staggering, but rarely appreciated. The 1% better principle shows how small daily improvements compound to 37.8x improvement in 1 year. This explains why most people fail to achieve their goals. They underestimate what consistent, tiny improvements can create over time, while simultaneously overestimating what can be achieved through sporadic, intense effort. Consider these real-world examples of the compound effect. Apple's stock price is worth $22 billion more for each 1% improvement in customer retention. Olympic athletes average 4.3 hours of deliberate practice daily for 10-plus years. Best-selling authors average 4.4 daily writing sessions per week for 12.5 years before breakout success. But there's an important counterbalance to this relentless pursuit. What if you just never do anything? Maybe some people just need to stop dreaming. Maybe they need to accept their current reality and actually enjoy it. This counterintuitive perspective offers important balance. Research from Harvard's Grant Study, the longest study on happiness ever conducted, reveals that achievement alone doesn't create fulfillment. The data shows that relationships and finding meaning in daily experiences correlate much more strongly with life satisfaction. The achievement orientation values only the end result, defers happiness to future accomplishment, measures worth through external metrics, and chases increasingly bigger goals. The process orientation finds meaning in daily practice, creates joy in the present moment, derives value from internal growth, and appreciates incremental progress. The research suggests the most fulfilled people combine both orientations, pursuing ambitious goals while extracting meaning from the daily process. The healthiest relationship with achievement might be summarized as, Do the work excellently, but hold the outcome lightly. As we consider whether to push through difficult moments or accept our current reality, the regret minimization framework offers valuable guidance. Imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your bed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghosts of the ideas you never acted on, the talents you didn't use. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos used what he called a regret minimization framework when